Hi everyone, my name is Olga Kardman and I have been working as a tour guide in Russia for 8 years now. My favorite museum to guide in is the Hermitage Museum, and today's video is dedicated to my absolutely most favorite room in the Hermitage Museum, called the Pavilion Hall. I remember seeing the Pavilion Hall for the first time in my life as a little child when I was in the Hermitage on a field trip with my class, and it fascinated me so much that it probably was one of the biggest reasons that I decided to become a tour guide to begin with. Anyway, the Pavilion Hall has such an interesting history behind it, and I wanted to tell you about it today. First of all, if you look at the Pavilion Hall, the design of it that you see now is the design of the middle of the 19th century. But originally, this hall was arranged in the middle of the 18th century for a member of the royal family who you all have heard of. It, of course, was Catherine the Great. The Pavilion Hall played a huge role in this building, and the building itself is quite interesting too. The name of the building is the Small Hermitage, and Catherine the Great attached this building to the Winter Palace to be a place where she, A, stored her art collection, and B, had private parties for small groups of really close friends. And right now, in the Pavilion Hall, you can see this big round mosaic on the floor that is surrounded with a little fence. Well, at the time of Catherine the Great, that actually was not a mosaic. On that very spot, in the middle of the 18th century, there was literally a hole in the floor. Why was there a hole in the floor? Well, I have to say that this room is located on the second floor, and the area under it on the first floor was occupied by servants. So when Catherine the Great had guests in the Pavilion Hall, the servants would actually lift up a table from the first floor all the way up to the second floor. When guests came to that room, they were given a menu and a little piece of paper, and they would write on the piece of paper what they wanted to eat, and then they would put it in the hall, and downstairs the servants would serve the table with everything that the guests would want to eat, and then lift it up to the second floor. Of course, that was always really impressive for Catherine the Great's guests. But the main reason why it existed was actually not to impress the guests, but to have some privacy. I mentioned earlier that in this room, Catherine the Great received small groups of really close friends, and sometimes she wanted to discuss their secrets with them, and she did not want the servants to eavesdrop on them. That's why she kept them on the first floor. The mosaic that you see there now is actually a copy of a mosaic that right now is located in the Vatican Museum. And it was the mid-19th century edition. This room was redesigned in the mid-19th century by the Tsar whose name was Nicholas I. He was the grandson of Catherine the Great. And he actually is the one who redesigned the whole room and added beautiful curiosities to it. Besides the gorgeous mosaic on the floor, you can also see a lot of other mosaics in this room. They are all located on top of the tables. So walk around the room and make sure to check out these little mosaic tables. The majority of them are designed in Italy in the technique called the Roman mosaic. And the beauty of the Roman mosaic is that the pieces of mosaic are really small. They are approximately 1 millimeter. So sometimes it's even hard to tell that it's mosaic, but it is really intricate work. Also, you will see a bigger table there that is also mosaic, but designed in a different technique called Florentine mosaic. And the idea of Florentine mosaic is that they use different precious and semi-precious stones in the design. And you can see lapis, marble, jasper, and a lot of other beautiful semi-precious stones there. Finally, the thing that you definitely will not miss in this room, it's right in the very center, it is called the Peacock Clock. The Peacock Clock was made in the middle of the 19th century also by a British clockmaker whose name was James Cox. And just like a lot of the other things in this room, it was a curiosity designed to impress the guests of the royal family. And in this clock, it used to be that every hour the peacock would spread its tail, the rooster would shout, and then there is a little owl with an orb around it, so the orb would also turn. And that's of course really impressive, but if you think about it, if that's the only thing that happens every hour, that's not enough for you to tell time, right? Take a closer look at this structure and try to see what part of it, in your opinion, could be showing time. Well, it's a really small part, right in the very bottom of the clock. You might notice a mushroom with a red top. And in the top of the mushroom, there is a little hole. And through that hole, you can see Arabic numbers that showed minutes and Roman numbers that showed hours. On top of the mushroom, there was a dragonfly that showed minutes. So a really, really small part of the whole structure was actually a clock. And it's actually really, really rare that you get to see how the clock works. Right now, they only start it about once a week just for maintenance, but there are other videos on YouTube where you can see how the clock works. Anyway, you could spend at least 15 minutes in the Pavilion Hall, and I definitely highly recommend you not to miss it. And when you are in St. Petersburg, make sure that you come to the Hermitage Museum, that you see the Pavilion Hall, and definitely enjoy the view of the Peacock Clock and the beautiful mosaic tables. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about any of the items in the Pavilion Hall or in the Hermitage Museum, feel free to leave them in the comment section and I would love to answer them. I hope you stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. See you soon. Bye.